welcome to our second panel of Decentraland Game Expo. I'm absolutely delighted to be joined here by our 4 expert speakers. We are streaming live into Decentraland's Game Expo Plaza, which if you are able to join us in world, we're at 081 in Decentraland. Come jump in, you can see I'm sharing my screen right now. With all the lovely community members and visitors that are shooting in to join us at 081 in Decentraland. We're also going to be streaming live on X, YouTube, and LinkedIn. So if you want to follow along, you want to jump in and join us in tour without losing the voice as you walk around, you can kind of listen in on X or LinkedIn or YouTube at the same time. We are diving into I think this is going to be my favorite panel of the whole expo, which is on the impact of AI on Web3 gaming, innovation, challenges, and opportunities. And I couldn't ask for a better cross-section of some of the most experienced and innovative companies in Web3 gaming today. So I'm absolutely delighted to welcome Kristian from Stratosphere, Stan from WeMade Wemix. We've got Ted here from Chibi Clash and Fractilians from Decentraland DAO. So to start us off, we are going to be walking around Plaza to 2 of the booths from our panelists that are joining us today. We're also going to be having this discussion as we walk around. It's going to be really informal. We're fielding your questions. So if you are joining us on the socials, we've got 100 people that are already joining us. If you have questions, if you would like to ask anything to our panel today, just stick them in the comments either in Twitter, LinkedIn, or YouTube, or even in the chat in Decentraland itself, and we'll feed those to our panelists as we join in today. So to start this panel, we have a general question for everybody, which is to just briefly introduce yourself and the current project you're working on right now. I wonder if Kristian, could you start us off?
Yeah, cool, fine. Hi, I'm Kristian. I'm CEO and founder of Stratosphere Games. I'm a little bit of a dinosaur already. Started in the industry like in 2000. Back then, even free to play was far off and in a far distant future, and Web3 was. I think there was never ever dreamt of that. So I'm starting there. I had a lot of different positions in the games industry and founded Stratosphere Games in 2015. Now 9 years, nearly 10 years in the making. And yeah, we started in 22 our journey into Web3. We shipped quite a few games in free to play, quite some successful ones. Just released even one 2 months ago. But our biggest project yet will be a Web3 title. It's called Desolation. It's a looter shooter with a strong Web3 economy. Will be coming to mobile and PC. That's it.
That's awesome. Stan, would you like to go next?
Sure. Hello, guys. I'm Stan Fiedor. Myself, I'm in the gaming industry since around 2010 when I founded my own studio called Fiedor Games, where we've been developing free-to-play games, mobile, like, for example, the Witcher Battle Arena, so like a mobile MOBA set within the Witcher universe together with CD Projekt. And then around 3 years ago, I handed over the management at Fiedor and started to mentor and advise some early founders and startup. Among those, also one from the AI/gaming space called Fabler.ai. And at the beginning of last year, I was chosen by WeMade, which is the huge Korean game development company, which is on the market since year 2000, so 24 years in the game development, and from the very beginning creating MMO RPG games. And having in mind that in MMORPGs, you always wanted to own the character, the skin, or the sword, and what's more, WeMade around 4 years ago decided to create the Wemix ecosystem, which allows the users to own the characters as NFTs within the game, and then later on to trade them and so on. What's interesting about WeMade and Wemix is the wemixplay.com platform, which is the, like, let's call it like the Steam of Web3. But what's really impressive about it, it has around 600,000 concurrent players every given second. So that's a huge player basically in Web3 space. And the newest game was launched just like 2 months ago, called Night Crows. If you guys haven't seen it and you're into Web3 gaming, then definitely please try and play around. So it's like a AAA Unreal 5 MMORPG on mobile. So it looks amazing, but you have to download like 70 gigabytes or something like that. But yeah, so that's why, having in mind, I've been into gaming for a long time, also tapped into AI and the Web3. Happy to be part of this panel with also the other amazing guests.
Fantastic to have you here. Ted, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Pleasure to be here as well. So my name is Ted, aka Wago, co-founder, CEO of Chibi Clash. So like a lot of our fellow panelists, I've been a veteran in the Web2 gaming space for quite a while. I started my gaming career back in 2013, working out of Beijing, China for the Zynga studio that was based there. And so I was heading up their product marketing for a few products, bringing some of the US products into the Asia and specifically China markets. Came back to Vancouver, BC, where I'm currently based in 2015. Dabbled upon entrepreneurship, worked on a lot of different mobile gaming projects, some esports stuff, some IP stuff. And during COVID, gravitated towards Web3 space like a lot of people. Started collecting a lot of NFTs, art, played around with Decentraland back in the days a lot as well. And yeah, really kind of saw the opportunity with Web3 gaming and really bought into the ethos of digital ownership, opening up Web3 to new gaming audiences that were kind of an untapped market for Web2 gaming, right? In developing countries like Philippines, Indonesia, and Latin America. And so that led to the birth of Chibi Clash back in late 2021. And since then, we took part in the Alliance Accelerator. We obviously have been building for the bear market. And, obviously, very much relating to the topic at hand today, we dabbled a lot upon AI. And I think it just kind of goes with what we want to build as a project and company. We really want to push the boundaries in terms of what kind of experiences we can unlock for gaming through new technologies, both in Web3 and with AI. And so we've been playing around a lot with autonomous agents. We've been partnering with other startups that are also looking to push the boundaries with what can be done with AI in gaming. And so currently we have built a giant, comprehensive roadmap with autonomous agents, creating what is now Chibi Clash Kingdoms. And so, yeah, I'd love to learn more from your fellow panelists today in terms of what everyone's doing with AI. And we're really excited about where things are going in the future.
This is going to be such a great discussion. Before I introduce our final panelist, our kind of wild card of this discussion, if you are joining us, if you're one of the 325 people that's already listening in via our channels, jump in and join us at 081 right now. We're in Plaza. We're about to take a quick tour to two of the amazing booths from the companies represented in the panel right now. But before we do, Fractilians, would you like to introduce yourself and why you're in this panel?
Wonderful. It's a pleasure to be here with you, all of you guys. Bay, it's always awesome hanging out with you. We always come up with some mischief. We'll see what we get into, right? So watch out. So I'm Natalie, or Fractilians, and I come from a background in digital and arts education and marketer over 2 decades. So another old schooler, started out in San Francisco working in animation firms, design firms, all that kind of fun stuff, and then gravitated towards more education, working in visual arts centers and STEM education programs. And about 4 years ago, I dove into the crypto space, and I just felt it perfectly blended my interests in arts, creativity, and innovative technologies. And since then, I've been heavily involved in like Web3 education, community building, contributing to projects like Wearable Protocol DAO, Decentraland DAO, Neo Tokyo Codes, Monoverse, to name a few, and of course the WIP Meetup, another great one. And currently I'm kind of focusing on contributing to a couple of communities. I'm also kind of diving in and focusing on integrating AI into educational programs to hopefully gamify learning and empower the next generation of game developers and creators. So yeah, excited to be here. Thanks.
It's fantastic. We've got such a balance on this panel. I'm Bay. I'm the producer of Decentraland Game Expo and lots of Decentraland events this year. The next ones are going to be Metaverse Fashion Week and also Decentraland Music Festival coming up towards the end of next year. I am thrilled to be talking about AI in Web3 right now on this panel. If you are joining us, jump in right now because we're about to jump to a first booth on this tour/discussion about AI in gaming. We're going to be jumping first to the Desolations booth. So if you are in World, I'm going to be typing in, I'm going to be moving my head around to my various screens, the Desolation booth's coordinates. If you're new to Decentraland, what you can do is just hit my hyperlink that's going to be in here. If you want to create your own, just put the coordinates -287 in the chat box in Decentraland. That gives you a hyperlink. You can jump on it, dive in, and we're going to be heading towards the Desolation. So I'm going to come out and let it load. This was loading great earlier, but there's a lot of traffic in World right now. So let's see. You move away a little bit. There we go. So Kristian, do you want to tell us what we're seeing here? And then we'll dive a little bit deeper into AI.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, like we said, by the way, it looks really amazing. I was really happy how much we could customize the booth and everything. That was a lot of fun. What you see here is basically just a little bit of an overview of what the game is about. First, on the top, there's one of the NFTs, which will be soon to be craftable with our big economy update coming in the beginning of August. And so basically, this is one of the main also applications for our AI stuff. Is like we have a lot of procedural and AI generated elements in our game. This goes from weapons, which basically get combined and basically built with the AI parts. We still have to build our own parts to a certain extent, but like all the compilation and customization will happen via AI, and the same is with our levels. We have similar to what something like Diablo does, but on a little bit of a different level with where we want to have like feedback from users, and all that kind of stuff basically feeds into it. And the game itself is it's a very unique perspective. It's slightly top down. There you see a trailer. If you're familiar with the first Helldivers, it is very similar to that, but it's also like a Diablo shooter. That's a lot of people coined that. So basically, you see the perspective from a little bit more of a top down. It's a co-op shooter. You all play together basically, and what you do mainly is defeating bosses and dungeons, and at the end loot and craft stuff. So it's like what is the main difference is crafting is becoming it's one of the biggest elements to it. So it's basically there's some stuff that gets directly dropped, but most stuff is fully craftable. You see here you have your own spaceship, and the spaceship you can build out. You can then do the different missions on the planet, which is Earth, but after big alien invasion. Check it out. I think it looks pretty amazing. And in August we'll also go open with the game. So for now it's just closed beta. You need an NFT to enter, but very soon, in end of August, we go full open beta.
And I should say, for anyone that's joined us in World at -287, there is a wearable to claim. So we walk over to the wearable machine.
Of the Owl. Yeah, exactly. It's a helmet of the Owl. It's a really cool character. It's one of our battle suits. So these battle suits are one of the key components. They're basically the heroes of the game.
And I see Derek above us on top of the wearable machine is wearing the helmet as our non-official model right now. So while we're in your booth, I would like to kind of open this up a little bit more about our topic in hand. So I would love to know, I know we've just touched upon it briefly, but could you dive deeper into how AI right now is working within your game? I think you talked about the generated weaponry above the booth. Like how is it working for you right now in the Desolation?
So we have it in different parts of our pipeline. So first in stuff like idea findings, like creating concepts. This is enhanced by AI, where we have our concept artists work with AI to basically quickly produce cool concepts for weapons and stuff like that. Then it goes down to more behind the scenes. We are not big fans of generative AI in the front of the users, because for us, cohesion, that's probably a good discussion point with the rest, but we like cohesion quite a lot. And we think at the end, having one creative mind, which is a human, and really quick concept artists can be sometimes quicker than trying to make AI always very consistent throughout a whole game, which can be very massive, which will probably improve over the years. But at the moment, this is not the point. So it's my ideation phase, then it's behind the scenes, a lot of the creation side of like, we're basically building out levels and weapons and have like drones and stuff like that. And basically how they are created, how they are built, enemies, how they are basically put on the battlefield based on that. These kind of things. We have like a kind of an AI director that also influences the spawns and stuff like that, reacts basically to the gameplay. These kind of things are basically more in the background. And then when it comes to marketing and stuff like that, we are using AI quite a bit for from creating app store icons to even trying out different creatives. We have elements in it, like we have somewhat normal voiceovers, but most of the voiceovers in our game is created by AI. So it's like we are not very like bullish on Gen AI when it comes to like the front layer, because normally we have to say I'm not super happy about the consistency, and our movement system and everything is pretty complex. So even while there is already some 3D generative AI, it is not good enough for our complex movement system. But again, this is just a question of time. It's just not yet. So yeah, we do most of our stuff more in the background. I think this is where speeding up, helping speed up the process, not so much like in the forefront. We still do a lot of stuff by hand.
So speeding up the process, but keeping that sense of cohesion and one creative voice on the front end for you.
Yeah,
Ted,
exactly.
how does that compare to what you're seeing right now in Chibi Clash?
Yeah, and I think I mentioned earlier and kind of alluded to is that we really want to take our game as kind of a canvas for experimentation, right? And I think that's what attracted us to entering Web3 in the first place. And so when GPT-3 first came out, I think a lot of people were kind of inspired by, oh, okay, we can do all these things with large language models now. And so that really opened up the door into a much deeper rabbit hole for both myself and the dev team to start just creating small experiences, not necessarily things that needs to go commercial in the first place, right? And in fact, I think looking at hindsight, we now understand that these models update so quickly, and to what Kristian was saying, a lot of things are just not quite ready yet, based on the consistency of the output, or just if you were to get an output today, it might be different than what you get tomorrow, right? And so taking this into account, we really took the approach of building a foundation that allowed us to be dynamic. So even as the foundation of the models update over time, or there are things that we don't know what's happening right now, but months from now, for example, right now multimodal is really kind of the talk of the town right now in terms of different forms of input and output. We're able to build something that is relevant to our game. And so with that mindset, we want to first of all build a meta game. So that's what we refer to as Chibi Clash Kingdoms. And so right now, when you enter our website and you enter Kingdoms, you see 2,500 individual plots of land. And so very much inspired by the grid system here in Decentraland. But for us, it's a kind of 2D meta flat world. People are able to own plots of land. And so the catch with what we're doing is obviously one, it's very much powered by Gen AI. So whereas I think a lot of studios, as Kristian was saying, the AI work takes place behind the scenes, right? Because a lot of times it's just not ready for external output. We really kind of wanted to push the boundaries in terms of, okay, but what if we're able to actually create something that can be external facing, right? That actually looks good and can kind of hit our own benchmarks in terms of, okay, this is a good representation of our kingdom and our project, right? Because if we were to build this large comprehensive map ourselves, one, it would be very, very costly, and two, the really exciting thing for us is, with dynamic generation, even we don't know where things are going to go, right? Really leads to a world with infinite possibilities, where with procedural generation, there are only so many variations that you can make, right? And so we decided to partner with a company called Scripted Inc. So they're currently one of the companies that are in the A16Z crypto accelerator. Again, gaming industry veterans that also, like us, are kind of pushing the frontiers in terms of what can be done with AI. And so we basically create a system to allow us to use autonomous agents to assign metadata for each plot of land. And so we're not just creating the asset and we're done, that's that, right? It's actually a foundation for us to continue to allow this kingdom to evolve over time, right? So imagine Westworld. So for those of you guys that have watched Westworld, you start in this world where it's the wild, wild west, right? And each day it resets, the characters forget things, but over time you realize that, oh, actually, the AI actually kind of remembers stuff, right? So a topic that I'll maybe touch upon a little bit later, but long-term memory with AI is also something that's super exciting, right? But for us, we laid this foundation for the kingdom, and with a snap of our fingers, we can change the entire theme of the kingdom or individual plots of lands from, let's say, the current medieval Asia looking kingdom right now to like cyberpunk theme to Western theme, right? And so even though we don't have that concretely in the plans right now, we have the foundation for us to be able to do that. And so I think this is something that excites us, is just being able to pave the foundation so that we're able to create things as we go, taking into some of the things that Web3 gaming really embraces, right? The composability of the pieces that you're building and be able to build on top of it, right? But the game itself, the metagame itself, is something that is familiar to players. Each land has its own stats. Each land is associated with an owner. There is gameplay that's associated with land ownership as well. So yeah, I'm really excited to explore where things go now that we have laid the groundworks for this foundation.
So listen to that, Ted, about this foundation that you're building this whole kingdom on. I kind of want to bring in Stan here to see how that compares to Night Crows and potentially other WeMade, Wemix projects that are using AI right now.
Sure. So if you think about WeMade, it's around 1,700 people working at the company. So, and having in mind those are MMO, RPG titles, then there is a lot of human touch, having in mind the company has been also a long time in the industry. But so I'm not going to be getting into like the details of like all of the steps where AI can be used at WeMade, because having being such a big enterprise, it's a different story. You have much more resources and possibilities. But what I see during the last 2 years is basically that you can have right now studios that are basically two people, or sometimes even a one-man show that can create amazing gaming experiences for the players. That's because, hey, as Ted or Kristian mentioned, there is like the ideation phase where you can use generation of Gen AI for concept art. Then you can create the high-level story ideas. Here, for example, with this, because what was mentioned, that consistency is a key aspect over here. So here, for example, the team at Fabler.ai, they were able to create a solution where you, as a traditional user, can create or become a prosumer, let's say. You can create your own story just by prompting. So basically, that's with a prompt, you create the backstory, and from the story, there are like the characters, and then you also, it's being visualized with like the locations, the characters and assets that are really consistent in terms of style and as well as the narrative and dialogue. So basically, from a prompt, you can get into seconds into a full interactive story. So think about episodes or stories or choices, which you can also potentially use as a meta element for your, I don't know, casual game, right? A match-free game and so on. Then there are the ways like me myself, like every day I'm basically using AI and then this or the other way of either for presentations or ideation. So if you're a person who's get some idea, you can actually build a lot of it on your own to get it together, or at least to showcase your thoughts very easily. And then there are the tools that allow you to basically within seconds create 3D models, like for example Genie or like CSM, which allow you from a single 2D picture to create 3D models. Then there are like solutions which allow you to prompt to animation. There is the Polish company called Animatric, which allows you to become like one person who can create everything, like from a writer to a designer to the artist, 3D artist, animator, and then a word builder. So basically, it is an abundance that we can call it basically right now in terms of how quickly, or at least for the ideation phase, you can create stuff. So I'm really excited to what's going to be coming to us in the next years, because we've seen it already back in the past that there is a lot of users who also want to be creators, right? But let's say, and because there's a lot of user generated content, but in the past, you maybe had a great idea, but let's say you were not the best artist, or you did not know how to code it into something. Now you have almost all of the tools that will allow you to express yourself and to convert it into a gaming experience. So I'm really, really hyped, I would say, to see what's going to be coming in the new months, basically, to us, and then how people will also benefit or of the connection between AI and Web3, because this is still something that I'm sure everybody will be exploring in the coming time. Because on one end, with AI, you can generate incredible amounts of content, but then maybe Web3 will be actually the one that's either gating it or giving you the ownership of all of this content. So that's some super crazy times on one end, but exciting at the same.
That's great, Stan. So these crazy times, I'm hearing these words kind of coming out. We've got this idea of consistency and cohesion, this big thing about ideation, this acceleration. All of you've mentioned some really interesting companies coming through, people like Scripted Inc., Genie, CSM, Animatric. Before we jump to you, Fractilians, because I know you've got a really interesting take on this, I want to jump us to a second location. If you are one of the 680 people watching this live across our various socials on Twitter, YouTube, or LinkedIn right now, please do join us in World. We're going to be jumping to 979. So if I move over to my different screen, I'm going to be putting again the hyperlink in the chat. So we're at 979, which is the booth by Chibi Clash. So we're going to be jumping over there, and there are some awesome wearables to claim in this booth as well. So we're going to be jumping now to the Chibi Clash booth. And Fractilians, as I'm moving around, getting my screen to load, can you tell me how you're currently using AI in your projects?
Can you guys hear me?
We can.
Okay, cool. So for me, how I've been using it, I just see AI as an incredibly powerful tool that helps enhance project-based learning for future builders and game developers, which I kind of mentioned a little bit already. I just think AI, at least how I've been using it, has been acting as an enabler, which allows like for a playful kind of creative process that opens up opportunities for everyone, not just the coders. Like, so while AI shifts the game creation process somewhat, it also helps create like new pathways and doorways of opportunities for all learners and contributors. And recently, I taught a workshop for middle school girls in STEM Works, which is part of Maui. I've taught for them for over 15 years, different crazy things. They're great. They let me do whatever I want. I'm like, I'm going to teach about the metaverse. They're like, we have no idea what that is, but go for it. And like AI too. They're like, so it's a wonderful place for me to test and like play with this. And they have such great students. So it's really cool. So these students it was really cool. I started out the class with asking them, who knows Minecraft? Of course, every single one of them. Who knows Roblox? They all raised their hands. So transitioning and talking to them about building in the metaverse using AI tools to build collaborative worlds and interactive storytelling was like, oh yeah, cool. Let's go for it. They just like jumped on in. It wasn't anything like scary at all. And they're used to building in Minecraft and Roblox. So building in the metaverse and using these tools was super easy. And for that workshop, I actually used a different metaverse, Hyperfy, and they showcase their projects, and they created AI generated videos, text to model 3D, shared their project. It was really, like, I wish I had more time. I would dive into, cross metaverse fun stuff, which we talk about a lot. And I basically like have been using it and see my role more as a way to like kind of inspire them and hopefully to show them the pathways and doorways to different workflows and the immense power of AI. And one of the key things I found, or I think, is like finding the balance of the power of AI without letting the students and people rely too heavily on it, kind of preserving how they're the directors of this creative, powerful thing. And I think like if a studio or student just depends solely on AI to create content, games kind of become more generic and uninspired. So like, I think that true power lies in that symbiotic relationship with these tools, like learning to integrate AI into that workflow so it becomes like a superpower, not kryptonite. So that's kind of in a nutshell. Hopefully that made sense.
I think that's a really cool way of putting it. That becomes a superpower, not kryptonite. From my kind of other life right now is that I'm assistant professor of emerging tech at Berkeley, the music university, and most of my students are on the global entertainment and music business MA, and all of them have this pull between preserving themselves as the creators, as the directors of these projects, and using AI, as you say, as a superpower rather than kryptonite. And I kind of want us to get controversial now and sort of dive into, we've all talked about how great AI is for accelerating those development cycles, for ideation, for this sense of bringing these games into exciting realms of new limits of 3D creation, of animation, of becoming the whole foundation for gaming mechanics and universe building. Problems, challenges. I'm going to bring you in first, Ted. We're in your booth, we're walking around, we're seeing the Chibi Clash installation here and just how much AI is part of your project. What are the challenges for you right now in using AI so innovatively within the Chibi Clash world building itself?
Yeah, and I'll definitely leave some for the other panelists because I think we're probably all facing the same challenges and problems. But just looking at the booth and specifically, not so much of a challenge, but I would say some of the caveats with working with AI. So you see all the cute characters on the background that are drawn by our artist. So her name is Kagura. She is a manga artist, and a lot of this came from her own creativity, right? So with the ideation and exploration, we talked about, okay, we want to have this to be, kind of Three Kingdoms themed, inspired by, so many games, and, took many rounds of iteration to create the main characters for the game, right? So the Lubu, the Diao-chan, the animal characters, and, having been in the gaming industry for so long, obviously this is a process that people take pride in, right? This really feels original. This really feels like this is our IP, this is our game. And so, whereas right now with AI art, I mean, honestly, it's amazing, right? You can create these masterpieces with a single prompt, and people that know how to do it well run their own LoRa models and train the models with hundreds of images. You're able to create these beautiful outputs, right? But then what you start seeing is that you start lacking that originality, right? And what while on the positive side, just like what Stan said, a couple of people can build a full-fledged game that looks great, plays great, but will they all start feeling and looking like the same, as we've seen with a lot of art output, picture output, and soon to be video output, and maybe even game output. And so, that is a little bit worrisome. Where I am here in Vancouver right now, we're seeing a lot of layoffs in the Web2 industry, right? A lot of people losing their jobs because AI is literally eating the lunch because it saves cost for development studios, from the ideation phase, concept art, even some development, design writing. And I think, with the pros comes the cons. Honestly, I think for us as a small studio, it's helped us save a lot of costs, and because of what we're trying to build, we're really trying to push the frontier and boundaries in terms of what can be built with AI. But I can see this as being a pain point moving forward, in which it will become more costly to create your own original work, because it's just going to be so much cheaper using AI.
So that pain point of originality becoming even more expensive, perhaps.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And for us, even right now, so I think it's a kind of two-tiered approach, right? So just like what Kristian was saying, we also take liberty to create some assets with AI, not just with the map, but let's say with some items, with buildings, because these things are relatively more minor, but the characters are the kind of the essence of the game, right? So the dragon, the main characters, our oracles that you just saw pass by, that they really represent the project and the IP. And so I think that's probably what's going to make the most sense moving forward, in which you kind of find your balance between, okay, these pieces I think we can use Gen AI models to if not create out completely, be able to use it to assist on that journey. But I think there still needs to be that human touch, especially when you want to create something that's truly original.
Kristian, can I bring you in here too?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many downsides as well, which, I mean, there's always these two hats that everyone has. I mean, especially, I'm not a normal CEO. I'm also the game director of the game. So I came in the industry not just to have a successful company, which is, don't get me wrong, it's great, but it's to make great games. I'm really I'm really proud of that. It's like my artists feel really at home at Stratosphere Games. I think we have a really proud artist community in the studio, which is super happy. It's like it was always the easiest one to find people for, because we create so much cool looking stuff and so on. So, and for them, AI is still a challenge on a purely accepting it, integrating it into their pipeline. While we try not to force them too much to do that, because we think personally that yes, we should be as you have to use it enough so that it makes sense for us, and it's important because this is the direction we're going. But we always try to do it as humane. I mean, we do AI as humane as possible. That's what we try to do, and that's why, I mean, most people, funnily, no one cares about everything in the background, and funnily, no one complained about AI doing our voiceovers and file. But it's like when it comes to art, everyone is like, this is the one piece. Being honest, we don't have like because that's the point. Voiceovers mostly get outsourced, so these are voices you don't have in the studio, and this is also one of the dangerous parts. I think it's like it is easy for, like, in our artists, the concept artists, 3D artists, they have a strong voice in studios, because these are the guys that are, a lot of times, they're like part of the studio, they're part of the identity. But a lot of the other things like music, voiceovers, even story writing and stuff, a lot of that kind of stuff gets a lot of times outsourced. And so the problem there is you don't have these constant voices in the studio. And this is where you dare do the first step, because we're all humans. And if there's not too much pressure, and no one is fighting against this, sure, we do AI voiceovers in the game, and sure, we start writing dialogue with the AI and stuff like that. So, and I think this is the biggest danger, is like that, forgetting the voices of the people that are affected a lot, which you don't see every day. It's like, it's much easier to say, okay, good, from now on we don't do voiceovers anymore with our cool voiceover artists, which are, we don't have so much voiceover because we are a lot of times also on mobile, and the game has a certain size. But these kind of the dangers that I think we all should be aware. That's more the humane side. I think on the other side, yes, I mean, there's a lot of other things. I think that art and making games, the funny thing, everyone is striving to make games with AI. But like, again, like Ted said, when does it become then generative, too similar, too boring, like, because everything looks the same. If everyone can make a game, we get I mean, we have already a situation where there's thousands and thousands of games. What happens if you really have breakthroughs in AI generated games or stuff like that? I don't think that is something that is exciting. What we do, but again, this is a voice from someone that is in the now. Let's talk in 10 years, and then everyone is probably laughing about us, and something completely new is built. Who knows?
I think that's really interesting perspective, that doing AI as humanely as possible, and also not forgetting about, okay, voices are already outsourced, so we can we feel all right using AI for those. We don't feel like AI, all right using it to replace people that we're working with closely in a team, and that becomes such a core part of the game development process.
If
Stan,
I might
I'm going to
add
bring you
over
in. Yeah,
here,
go.
then for me, like AI is making me kind of, or giving me superpowers, right? Because I have a limited amount of time in each day, so I wouldn't be able to do everything what I would like to. But I've got some ideas in my mind, and then with different tools that I'm using, I can speed up the, putting it on paper, let's say, or creating a presentation out of that, or telling somebody an idea or the direction or a concept, etc. So I think that every artist or creator, designer, and so on can become better, like a triple X the person that he or she is already, by being enhanced with like the AI. So that way you can keep your originality, but you can speed up your output. You can create much more, or even more crazy stuff that's going to be engaging the players even more. So I think it's basically for now a tool. And that's the thing. If you, let's say, we are back over 50 years ago, and there's a computer that was created, right? And probably many people were thinking, oh, it's going to take away my job, and so on, right? But then it turned out
And it did.
the computers.
And it did
Yes,
for
but
some.
at
Don't
the
get me
same
wrong.
time,
There's no printer people anymore. Talk about the printer people.
yeah, but let's see how many new jobs it did create, right? And that's incredible. So I think it's more the thing how we are looking at it, right? Because change is always bringing, some people can look at it as a fear, and some can look at it as an opportunity, right? And I'm always the person who is looking for the possibilities. What value can it bring to me? And I'm a full believer of AI, especially if it's gonna be saved somewhere, then I want to, and the AGI will be there in the future, then I want to know. I want to let them know that I like AI, so please don't kill me in the future, right? So that's the thing as well.
Ted, are you seeing similar challenges on your side?
Yeah, and I fully embrace AI, right? And when, as I mentioned earlier, GPT-3 came out, it was just like a light bulb moment in terms of what can be done, and even just kind of every day, in my personal life, I have played around with Tesla's autonomous driving. I have obviously used GPT for kind of personal stuff, whether that is like daily planning. And of course, the day-to-day of the project, coming up with designs and concepts and whatnot, right? And yeah, I think it's always interesting to try to predict where the future is heading. And I think, we do see this trend, on the note of AGI. I think, those of us that are following AI, I think, we almost accept that, this is an inevitability, right? We will reach the point in which we will reach, some form of AGI, however you define it. And, AI is going to be capable of, exceeding human intelligence, right? And, I guess you're thinking about, the day-to-day life, right? What are some of the things that AI can replace that will make your life easier, but at the same time, what is it going to disrupt that will make life more difficult, right? So yeah, going a little bit off topic now since we're talking about gaming, but in gaming specifically, I think yeah, it will be cool, to have more and more experiences that can be created by people, right? And yeah, we did go through this in history, in which previously, let's say creating art, right? Not everyone knew Photoshop, creating videos, and you need to be a videographer to create great videos and great edits. Now it's democratized, and people with the right software or even freeware are able to do that now, right? So yeah, perhaps we're heading into this moment where games as well, right? People with an idea, students like in high school can create full gaming loops and experiences. So maybe this is the opportunity for game design to kind of take a forefront, right? So it's not just about the ability to do something, but how do you create things that are sticky with full game loops, and perhaps in our space in Web3, right? That there is this moment, aha moment, in which, oh, you know what, it makes sense to integrate Web3 and decentralized experiences into games, because it allows for digital ownership. It allows for these games to live on chain forever, to create new experiences that otherwise cannot be unlocked. And this is kind of our approach of our project as well, right? Like, how do we create something that is truly unique on its own, and even as the world evolves around us, we're able to evolve with it.
We could carry on this discussion for another half an hour. We've got about 15 minutes left right now. So first off, I want to say, if you are one of the 800 people live with us on one of our social channels, do jump into World. We're right now at Quest Zone, so we're at 081 in Decentraland. Come and be part of the end of this conversation. We are streaming live from Decentraland Game Expo Plaza at 081 in Decentraland. Join us, emote with us. You can get the computer gaming emote, which I'm about to demonstrate now, from the center of the plaza. We've had a few flash mobs recently today during presentations. If you do want to sit and emote with me using the computer gaming emote, which is available in the center of plaza, come right in. Fractilians, Ted just then mentioned this sense of people picking up these tools and running with it in the way that the next generation is going to do. From your perspective as an educator and someone who's been deeply involved in kind of cutting edge Web3 for the last 4 years, with your work in DAOs, with your work in education, what are the tools that are really getting people in the next generation excited right now? What do you see as coming through?
Well, definitely, like, I think being able to iterate and create instantly, like we were talking about, the text to video, the text to 3D models, all of those kind of things were really so easy to basically do have a concept and have them quickly iterate, how to quickly jump in and be like, oh, and how to create things that quickly give them that seed idea, and then they run with it, and then it's just oh, I can do that. Oh, here's a million other things. So I had them having them work in groups, I think was a great thing. Giving them little tidbits, not mandating anything specific, but I think for me, I think the power is just not having too much structure, but letting them just play and have fun is key, and at least that's what I've experienced over the last 20 years of teaching all sorts of things, but any new technology always has that kind of impact, in my opinion. When I was teaching Photoshop back in the day, to a lot of people, they're to photographers teaching digital photography, all of the things that shift. When it shifts, you always have these people that are oh, I don't know about this, but once they start playing, once you give them the tools, once they kind of jump in, I think I don't know. I'm kind of like going on a total tangent. I'm still kind of thinking about the last question you asked. So I was like diving into that in my head.
Run with it. Where were you going to go with the last question?
Well, one of the things, it's so funny. The first thing I thought about when they talked to me about, hey, can you do this? I thought about, oh shit, really? Because up until 2020, Hawaii had a really complex relationship with crypto. So I was like, oh, will I even be allowed? Can I even access all this stuff? So then from there, working with kids, I started thinking about data privacy issues, security issues. This workshop was funded by grants. It's outside the school system. But then I began to wonder, like, if you're going to integrate it into that, how do you address these things? Then I thought about, in high school, all the issues they're having with ChatGPT, plagiarism, all those kind of things that like are connected to this, when you use these creative tools. And again, it goes back to that idea, how to use them how to create those pathways that allows these learners and builders to use these tools in a way that's like that superpower, not the kryptonite, because it could so easily go to the dark side of the force, which can be fun. Some of the kids will be like, right away they're coming up with these villains, all these funny things, but like, yeah, that's kind of where my brain went. It's kind of a big tangent, but it's something that a lot of them, not necessarily thought about right away. But for me, it's like, oh, if I were to go to an actual public school, not an after school program, you have a lot more regulations, what you're allowed to do, and and how to tap into there. And I've done professional development for teachers as well. Like, okay, what could I show them that they would still be allowed to use in their classroom for all their curriculum and all their things that they have to hit? So yeah,
the really quick thing I want a quick thing. It's like two quotes from LinkedIn and also from my people are just coming to mind. One of my artists said cleverly, and I think that's quite true. Especially non-artists, that includes even me. I think that Gen AI in art is a great idea. And then combined to that, the quote from an artist also on LinkedIn, I think it was like, why should AI do all the wonderful and fun stuff that they're doing instead of doing my laundry and my taxes? I know there's potential AI for taxes, but it's like I understand them quite. It's different for like a kid to explore it and making it fun. But if it's your art form, it's your life, and the fun is in creating stuff, like literally painting and basically forming from your brain onto a paper and stuff like that. This is, for some of them, it's just they take away the fun, and the problem is people like us, and I'm not out of there. I'm the one that says, yeah, just do it to be quicker. Yeah, sure, but isn't quick always good? It's not sometimes slow, but have the better result, the better system. I just want to put it out. Like I said,
I love that. I love what you're saying. Yeah.
I just want to say that I'm very close to my artists and I understand them on this level. And like I said, AI is inevitable, but we should just be aware that at the moment it still does a lot of things that a lot of people are still having fun with, and it's really frustrating for them. So I just want to keep it humane again.
Well, one thing that addresses what you're talking about, I was like, for that workshop that I began, it's all paper and pencil. All the brainstorming, all the drawings were done ahead of time, drawing, paper and pencil. And then you can actually scan that in and have it animated. Like, again, integrating the strengths of like their superpower of their group brainstorm without that tool, and then bringing it. And that's where it supercharges it, right? That's where it's like, oh, these little, our initial ideas can, yeah. But I love that and totally agree with you.
We've just got 7 minutes left. So I'm going to bring this back to this connection between Web3 and AI to kind of bring this panel to a close. I'm going to kind of ask the impossible and give you two things in Web3 gaming that you think that AI is going to change out of recognition for us. Ideally, something that we haven't yet touched. So, summary. The two things that you think people should be looking out for how AI is going to affect Web3 gaming. It could be gaming in general, but if you can, specifically Web3 gaming over the next, oh gosh, timescales in AI, let's say 3 to 5 years, maybe quicker. I'm going to see, does anyone want to volunteer first?
Yeah, I can talk first. Just have something in the back of my
Fabulous, Ted.
mind. Because I mean, that's basically what we're thinking about each and every day, right? It's like, what can we do with AI and Web3 gaming? And I think this is one of the concepts that I really believe in terms of experimentation. Is let's break things, right? If things break, then it breaks, but it's a worthwhile experiment, right? So on the note of AGI and AI becoming self-aware and all these scary things that we watch and read about in sci-fi. One of the really cool things with gaming is that oftentimes our industry are the first movers with new tech, right? Whether that's through ad tech, through gamification of a lot of features. It all starts with gaming because gaming is all about experimentation, right? And Web3 gaming even more so, or should be more so, right? I think the ironic thing is that because of the current economies and what incentivizes people to build for Web3 gaming, we're not getting as much experimentation as we should in Web3 gaming at this moment, right? And of course, as a project, we try to push boundaries and continue to be innovative and not be afraid to experiment. And specific to AI, I think one of the really big ideas we have is, what if you allow AI and autonomous agents to take a bigger part within the project itself, right? So letting the AI act as almost as a god in the game, right? Having the power to create rules, understanding the game and the world and the people in it, and actually be able to and be empowered to create changes in this world. And so we've built up this foundation layer that allows AI to potentially do that. So right now it might be a little bit too stupid to do things that will consistently make sense, but we're not far away from being able to train autonomous agent AI to understand the rules. Basically run out live ops, perhaps create rules, dictate prizes, and go from there, right? And so the end game scenario is, okay, well, what if AI becomes self-aware and destroys the world? Well, at least we're still in the game. So if they destroy the game, that's fine. So that might be a precaution for, okay, let's be careful if we try to do the same thing with the real world and let AI run for government. But I think that would be a cool experiment, and that's something that we're constantly thinking about.
That's wonderful. Kristian, can I bring you in?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's two main things. First is UGC. So it's like from the both sides. I think at one point having players have more control and being part more of a like basically how to create like the elements that drive Web3, the NFTs, the UGC content. I think having that control and enabling basically something which is one step up, because I think my main issue that I have is UGC. Even some cool stuff like Decentraland still have to put some effort into it to create something and uploading it and building it, and you have to know 3D or whatever. And I think having this kind of next step, I think it is an important one, especially when it comes to like very fun experiences or where user generated content is a main driver. And the second part is the other way around. I think AI becoming more and more self-aware, like Ted says, but by basically guiding our gameplay experience, being a partner as an NPC and talking with us, these kind of things. So it's like, I think from both ends, it is from the creativity on the player side, but it's also on making worlds much more natural and making the interaction more not as stilted or not as boring as they are currently are. In-world AI with their cool NPC systems and stuff like that. These kind of guys are showing the direction. When that will be fun enough that I really wanna have it over a cool Mass Effect or like a BioWare game, a conversation, especially the old ones, I don't know yet. But I think that is something in the 3 to 5 years where I think it'll become good enough that you can have a proper conversation with the character.
So proper conversations with self-aware agents that are helping you run these games.
I would be even making a longer shot. It's like in the future, it can be like Ready Player One. Like you wake up and you just think of like, what type of a game would I like to play today, right? And you can put your like virtual headset or whatever it will be in the future that will be our input device, or you just connect yourself to Matrix, and then basically every time the experience can be fully personalized and generated just for you, depending on your mood or what you would like to try, achieve, or how to influence yourself, and what you would like to, start the day with, and so on. So I think sky is the limit, basically, in terms of what we can be experiencing in the future, what's going to be coming over there, some kind of oasis and so on. So I'm curious. Yeah, I can't wait to experience those.
Yeah, just adding to that point, I think this is something probably won't have enough time to discuss, but just kind of throwing it out there. A lot of reference right now with AI is to the movie Her, right? And so I just remember this moment from the movie where the person, Joaquin Phoenix, he is a book writer, but not a successful one, and the AI obviously has all his information and knows him personally, and takes the proactive approach of actually sending his book draft to the publisher, which then gets published, right? It sounds rosy, but I mean, imagine that in real life, in which the AI does things without your consent. And like sometimes it might play out great. It's like, oh my God, you know me so well, right? And I think that's the scary thing, when the AI thinks it knows better than you. And then, yeah, I think it's almost like a bit of a dystopian future. I mean, as much as I love AI and embrace this like unknown future, we're heading towards a scary direction as well.
Fractilians, final words. Where do you see this going?
Well, I was just thinking, it was so funny. I was rewatching Her last night, so it's funny you were mentioning that, just because it's been mentioned so much. And yeah, that would be scary. I mean, unless you allow it to, right? To create different things that I haven't thought of, because if it has your entire data set, that would be fascinating what it could do. Scary, but fascinating. So I guess the use of AI to like continue to enhance like decentralized economies and help facilitate true ownership, interoperability of in-game assets is something that like I'm definitely like been following and loved seeing what people are coming up with solutions for that, and also continuing development around obviously AI generated content and how that evolves with like player interactions, creating unique experiences for each user, like AI driven storytelling, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I'm fascinated by and really interested to see where that's going. But definitely, I always say thank you and to AI for just in case they're like all the people who said thank you, they're on the good side of AI. So that's definitely something you never know. So please and thank you, being courteous to our fellow AI agents.
But this has been a fabulous
against AI.
This has been a fabulous panel. I'm really optimistic. I wasn't expecting the optimism from this panel, which is really refreshing. In the midst of a lot of discussion about AI, I think we've touched upon some really interesting themes about this sense of AI in the back end, allowing this ideation, allowing this superpower, not kryptonite perspective on AI, the human nature of AI, this sense that all of us are thinking about AI as the progression of live ops, the progression of being the god in the world, the progression of this experience and creativity that's coming through already in Web3 gaming. But I think all of us feel that it's going to be pushing it at an accelerated pace over the next 3 to 5 years. It has been an absolute pleasure to have everyone on this panel today, Kristian, Stan, Fractilians, and Ted. I really hope this conversation is going to continue. Please, if you would like to ask any more questions to the panelists, we've actually not had that many. I think everyone was kind of enthralled by the conversation that has been going on today. So if you do want to follow up, obviously I am Bay at Decentraland. Just give me a shout. I can forward anything onto our speakers that you would like follow up on. Thank you to all the 1,000 of you that joined us live in this panel. Special thanks to everybody that joined us in Decentraland in the world itself. We're at 081. We have our second panel in about an hour's, a third panel of today in about an hour's time. It is going to be a packed evening. We've got another panel, and then we have the official opening party for Decentraland Game Expo. So I hope that many of you will be joining us in an hour's time and then to party with us with the Dollhouse, one of our Decentraland favorites in throwing brilliant parties in the virtual world. So again, massive thanks to you all. I hope everyone has enjoyed this panel as much as I have, and I'll see you at the next DCLGX event on day 1. Thank you, everybody.
Bye. Thank you, Bay.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye.
guys.
Thanks a
See
lot.
you.
It was an amazing
Bye.
panel. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.